And Elijah the Tishbite, who was of the inhabitants of Gilead, said unto Ahab, As the Lord God of Israel liveth, before whom I stand, there shall not be dew nor rain these years, but according to my word. And the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, Get thee hence, and turn thee eastward, and hide thyself by the brook Cherith, that is before Jordan.
Now, every gift given by our God teaches us that it's not about the gift, but it's rather about the gift giver. For example, you buy a new device or a technology. In order to access the efficiency of that very gift and device, you must first understand the mentality to understand the true purpose of that gift. Now, if you remember when we look at the story of the disciples, they came across an issue. They saw a boy who was possessed by demons, and they approached this boy and tried to cast out this demon. They attempted, but they failed miserably, and they were embarrassed. But their Jesus now came on the scene, and by just one word declared that this demon to leave this boy. And on their way home, they begin to reason with themselves and begin to ask questions. Jesus, why was it that we were not able to cast out this demon? And Christ now in his response begin to say unto them, it was done by only prayer and fasting. In other words, in the fasting, it is for us to deny our self ability. And in our prayer is to seek out his ability. Because it's not rather what we have, but more so who we have.
And Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done, and with how he had slain all the prophets with the sword. Then Jezebel sent a messenger unto Elijah, saying, So let the gods do to me, and more also, if I make not thy life as the life of one of them, by tomorrow about this time. And when he saw that, he arose, and went for his life, and came to Beersheba, which belongeth to Judah, and left his servant there. But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness, and came and sat down under a juniper tree. And he requested for himself that he might die, and said, It is enough now. O Lord, take away my life, for I am not better than my fathers.
Now, as gifted as Elijah was when he was using his gift, he was at his best. And he was at his worst when the show was over and the curtains were closed. Because if we begin to read the journey of Elijah, he came to Mount Carmel to begin to demonstrate the power of God to the people in hopes to win their hearts back onto God for those who were went to follow the God of Baal and his prophets. He made a public shame of their God and their prophets because they followed after a God called Baal. And interesting enough, the God of Baal was the God of rain. And Elijah was given the very gift to stop the rain by his word. He was given the key to heaven. But in this, you begin to see that as Elijah began to display the power, he gained fame and validation in his performance. But after all went to their very places, he now became insecure and fearful of who he truly is. And he now came to a place of self-isolation. And in that very same place, he began to discover where his true strength lies. Now, as today, we're all in quarantine and told to be in isolation and self-isolation. Now, in our natural state and our natural form, do we truly hold on to purpose? Or are we of a theatrical people who perform a certain role in our occupation that we deem as this is my purpose? The natural and the theatrical will only determine our true purpose and where our strength lies.
And he said, Go forth and stand upon the mount before the Lord. And behold, the Lord passed by, and a great and strong wind rent the mountains, and brake in pieces the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind, and after the wind, an earthquake. But the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire. But the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a still small voice.
Now we see in the mount where God told Elijah to be in Horeb, he began to teach him with the elements of wind, earthquake, and fire. He was teaching him that the power is not in the performance, but rather in the word of his God. For example, when we talk about a footballer, of what great use is a footballer without a football? And of what great use is a manager without a team to manage? Because wherever there is a purpose, there is a need for a gift. As believers, without a church, do we still have the desire to worship our God? Without a choir, do we still have a desire to give praise and thanks to our God? And without a minister or a teacher, do we still seek to hear from our God? Even in the quarantine that we're in, even in isolation, it even serves a purpose in our natural state. In the isolation and the quarantine, it serves the purpose that as we stay home, it doesn't cause a spread of the disease. And even in our staying home, it prevents us from being contracted by the disease. It is a battle within ourselves of the natural and the theatrical. It is where we begin to find our true selves. The place where God had called Elijah was not just a place of isolation, but a place of transformation. Even the same place, Mount Horeb, was the place where God had called Moses out of a burning bush. And they came with the same mentality. Now you see Elijah, God, I'm the only prophet in Israel who has not served under Baal. And now Jezebel seeks my life. Moses, God, I'm an ex-convict on the run. And I'm a stammerer. And God began to look at these things and say, I didn't need a prophet, nor did I need a prince of Egypt. I just needed a man. Why? Because God, in his purpose, had already saved a remnant of Israel unto himself, and a remnant of prophets who are not served under Baal unto himself. He needed a man to be a gift to serve in God's purpose. Because it's in our natural where God's ability is founded in us. Now, Paul spoke about the time when he became such an elegant speaker. He had many people requesting to hear his ministry, his words. And then one day, a thorn came on his side. And he prayed. 3 days. He prayed on the first day. Second, third, no response. On the third day now, he now heard a voice. Christ came to him and appeared upon him and began to say, my strength is made perfect in your weakness. This now brought him to a realization that it's not about my gift. It is about the purpose which allows my gift to be relevant in God. The same within Jesus. When he came in his natural form to the Garden of Gethsemane, he began to pray in his natural form and begin to ask God, if this is your will, then do not let this cup pass me by. But if it's your will, let it be so. In his natural form, he found the ability of God, the abundance of grace founded in him to give him the strength to go to the cross and to die for you and I, so that we may have a purpose. And in the purpose that we are called to, that's where the gift is given to us.
And if by grace, then it is no more of works. Otherwise, grace is no more grace. But if it be of works, then it is no more grace. Otherwise, work is no more work.
It is by his grace and not by our works, theatrical. But it is where in the natural God's grace abounds. For he saved a raiment of Israel unto himself for a purpose, and he also saved a raiment of the prophets in the time of Elijah unto himself. But the gift he gave to us to serve the purpose is the gift of life. Therefore, we must use this life to serve his purpose.